Hello. Thank you for joining me today in the 2020 virtual Aon Insight Series on demand session. My name is Rashan Singapuli, and I'm going to be talking to you today about what I affectionately call superannuation, the forgotten employee benefit. Over the next 30 minutes, I'm going to cover a couple of different topics, but hopefully it'll give you some valuable context to how superannuation works within your organization in terms of how it supports your ability to manage your risk, as well as supporting the retirement outcomes of your people. Today's game plan is fairly straightforward. Firstly, we're going to not assume any knowledge on your part around superannuation. So I'm going to start by establishing some baseline knowledge points, which I'm going to build on over the next 20 minutes. This will set a scene for current as well as the past around how superannuation has worked. Then I'm going to bring super and risk together, help you understand where the bridges exist between your superannuation strategy as well as some of the areas of risk that you might be concerned about today. Next, I'll talk about how we can solve for some of these risk areas. While superannuation has a lot of complex areas that we need to consider, there are many simple things that many organizations can do today to try to have better outcomes both for their people as well as their organization. And then finally, I want this to be actionable. So we're going to look at what you can do next. Whether it's with your current default provider or consideration for another provider in the market, there are strategies that you can implement today through some conversations that start in your office. So let's have a look at some of the areas that will come into focus. And namely, the one I'm going to start with is what does Smart Monday mean? Smart Monday is Aon's corporate superannuation solution in Australia, but it's more than that. It's also a philosophy. It's around action. Smart Monday considers your days of the week as also the days of your life. And if you start your career in your early 20s on your Monday, with your midpoint in your career being on your Wednesday or Thursday, and then finally, on your Friday, where you're looking at your retirement nest egg that will hopefully support the weekend outcomes that you're after. Smart Monday considers that if you really love your weekend and you really want to achieve some very specific goals for your Saturday, your Sunday, and even into your long-term retirement in the following week, you need to be as smart as possible on the Monday. But being smart on a Monday is not just as easy as we make it sound. It means that you need to build your knowledge and also have an idea of what you want to do. So today, I'm going to help you try to be as smart as possible on your Monday. And we're going to talk about some of the areas of superannuation that I mentioned earlier. Let's start with that baseline knowledge. This is a brief history. There's a lot of different things that's occurred in the superannuation industry all the way through the last year as well as the past decade. But firstly, the one we know the most, your super guarantee. This is a very simple element of superannuation, which is basically you will receive a defined contribution at the rate of 9.5% of your ordinary time earnings paid to a superannuation provider. Your employees today may have elected their own provider through the choice legislation, or they may have partnered with your default provider. But in the end, this actual area is looking to be increased. Currently, in 2025, this looks to go up to about 12%. There's still some conversations happening in this space and nothing set in stone. But what this demonstrates is that your current strategy around superannuation is evolving, and also the value of those contributions will increase over time. Next, superannuation is not just about that retirement nest egg. It actually provides valuable services today to your employees in the form of insurance. In the past, automatic insurance cover meant that many of your employees received death and disability insurance as part of their superannuation arrangement on an opt-out basis. That means for every provider they had, they may have duplicated or replicated insurance programs within each. And that means there's premiums to be paid as well. Income protection is another facet that they may have employed. Some superannuation providers offer this as default, and others offer it on the basis of election. And then the next part is investment returns. Investments are a complex animal, but in superannuation, they've tried to make it more simple for people through the introduction of MySuper in 2014. What MySuper meant was that when you elect to join a superannuation fund, should you not choose an investment option of your own choice, you will end up in that superannuation fund's MySuper product. Now, while most superannuation funds will have a MySuper product, it does not mean that each superannuation's MySuper product is the same. Each one of those can behave very differently, so the experience for each one of your staff can be very different depending on the partnered provider they're with. So let's talk about what's changing now. As we mentioned earlier, there's a lot of stuff happening in the market today. Some that have only been announced in the most recent budget. But one of the biggest areas of impact at the moment is COVID-19 and the early release. Currently, over $33 billion of payments have been made from superannuation funds. These average payments are roughly around $7,500. What this shows is that while superannuation is designed for that retirement nest egg in 20 or 30 years for your weekend, given certain conditions, it can have a material impact on the quality of your life today. Your employees today may have used this early release, or someone within your family or friendship network may have also utilized the superannuation to support their family and the outcomes they're trying to achieve. Next, insurance. Automatic insurance is not so automatic anymore. With the introduction of new legislation, what this means is some individuals will now have to elect for insurance to be switched on in their account, where in the past they may have just received that automatically. This means they need to make a conscious decision. They need to understand what's on offer, and they also need to choose whether or not that's the right thing for them. Additional rules also mean that some individuals may lose the cover they already have. This is really, really important. Superannuation often can be a highly disengaged group of individuals. So, where a person is not aware of the insurance benefits they have, simply through passive inactivity, they may lose that cover and only find out when they really, really need it. That's a material risk for your people as well as your business. Let's talk about some of the impacts. COVID-19 has meant that insurance premiums have gone up, as well as the changes to legislation around eligibility meant that insurers have responded. Data we've seen today show insurance premiums may be increasing anywhere between 10 to 20% in the 2019 period. Furthermore, people's balances have been impacted. We've all seen a lot of the headlines. Investment markets have been highly volatile over the last period. At the lowest point, we've seen upwards of 10.3% of most account balances being lost. Now we're in a partial recovery period, but what this shows is that what your superannuation fund is doing, given certain market conditions, can have significant impacts on those balances. And all of this come together create a perfect storm for employers who need to now take concerted effort in understanding what they're doing around their superannuation policy. But this is the baseline. Many of us already know that salary forms one of the highest costs for any organization. $1 in $10 of that salary spent is currently going to a superannuation provider. So as an employer in an organization, you need to ask yourself, are you getting any value for this spend? Do you understand what your superannuation providers and partners are doing and how that might be affecting your business? And this is where risk and super comes together. Aon prides itself in being one of the highest and most expertise organizations in the industry and the world around understanding risk, health, and retirement. So in 2019's Global Risk Survey for our clients, there are a number of areas identified which were critical focus areas around risk. These three, which were part of the top 10, have been shown to married with superannuation strategies very closely. Firstly, we've already mentioned some of the regulation change. Regulatory change is a constant in the superannuation industry. I've been in the industry for over 15 years, and I can't remember a single year where the industry has gone unscathed from some form of change. Those changes also affect you. Next, brand. We've seen through the Royal Commission that the conduct of superannuation funds and other financial institutions can have material effects on those individuals who utilize those programs. That conduct is also reflected on you because in reality, superannuation providers are a partner. They're a vendor and a supplier to your organization. So their conduct and their action, beyond simple economic value like investment returns and premiums, can have an effect on the perception of your own brand. And top talent. Top talent is a critical part for the longevity of most organizations. So failure to attract and retain top talent is a considerable concern for many organizations. Top talent also consider the total benefit structure they're offered by their employment. It's not just about salary, it's also about all the ancillary benefits, and superannuation is a critical one of those. So today we're going to explore some of these areas, and particularly these three key risks, and talk about how you can change and pivot on your superannuation strategy to try to mitigate these areas as best as possible, or maybe even get some opportunities out of it. So let's have a look at these three regulations, brand and top talent pieces in detail, and bring them a little bit closer to super. We've obviously talked about recent legislation change, and particularly around the changes of insurance eligibility. In the 2020 budget, we've also seen there'll be changes around the election of superannuation funds when you join an employer. What this means is that your employees need even more information because the effort is now placed on them to engage with the decision they make because the default and automatic nature of superannuation is now changing. So how do you help your employees make better decisions? Next, brand. We know the conduct of superannuation funds, when they're considered a supplier or a vendor to your business, will affect how your employees perceive your business. How can you make sure this is working for you and not against you? And top talent. I'm going to use the top talent journey as a way to demonstrate and explain to you all how superannuation can work in practice in your organization. Your superannuation offering and its customization is at the end of the day a benefit your employees receive. They may not realize it until the end of their career, but many of them already know today that what you're doing in the space of superannuation is vitally important to them. So let's talk about that top talent journey. What does that look like? Simply 3 steps. It's an elegant program that explains to you what your employees will do today through your organization and into the future, and how it can have an effect on your business. Firstly, in a top talent journey, you need to get the talent. Attracting the right people for your industry and your practice is critically important. How do you attract the right people, and what do the right people look for? Once you get them through the door, though, you need to keep them. Retaining your best people is also critical. And that means using a superannuation program throughout their employment journey in a way that supports real economic outcomes and life outcomes for them. And then finally, creating advocacy. Not everybody will stay with your organization, but once they go, what are they saying in the market? What are they saying about their experience for yourself? And what goodwill are they taking into the market to create an alumni network that will support your brand into the future? Let's start with attracting top talent. What does this really look like? When it comes to attracting top talent, it's simply about tailoring. Superannuation is actually highly customizable given the right partnership. If you tailor your superannuation program to support the outcomes of your industry around insurance design, fees, and even investment performance in negotiation with the superannuation provider, what this demonstrates and signals to the market is that you have demonstrated discretionary effort. It's simply to meet the super guarantee standard and pay what you're obligated to pay under the law. But doing this little bit of extra work up front means it's shown your employees and prospective employees that you have put concerted effort into understanding the needs of your industry and the people that work within it. It also supports the creation of financial well-being. We've talked about legislative change, so exploring legislative change in this particular part is very important. When an employee considers joining your organization, the idea of receiving default insurance as part of their superannuation and the cost related to that are 2 key factors of concern. The problem today is that they may be paying more for that insurance, or they may not be getting that cover at all. How do you know your employees are being covered? How do you know that your superannuation fund and the strategies that you've deployed today are actually achieving the outcomes that are materially important for your employees? It starts with the conversation. Next, when we look at attracting the top talent, brand and reputation comes into keen focus. Unfortunately, Australian employees today have nominated superannuation funds that may not be the best performing. We know the law requires Australian employers to nominate a default provider that their staff can join should they not have a superannuation fund they already have, or have a choice of their own. Unfortunately, 170,000 new employees entered a default superannuation fund in the lowest quartile of all performing funds. What this means is that for those employees, their experience with that super fund is going to be materially different, and it occurred as a result of their employment with an employer today. What happens to your brand if your default superannuation fund is one of these providers and you don't know? And your employees only find out when they open their statement or they look to retire. This is why it's really, really critical that you assess your partnership and the conduct of superannuation providers at regular times and regular intervals. This is having an effect on your business today, and it could be supporting it or it could be hindering the outcomes you're trying to achieve. But all things being equal, and if everything goes well and those people join the organization, what can you do to make sure that their experience with the organization is as best as it can be and supported by your superannuation strategy? Financial stress is one of the largest contributors to anxiety in Australia today. We know that pay is also flat and benefits are often seen as a new pay rise. When we consider financial stress, particularly in light of COVID-19 arriving on our shores has meant that over 50% of Australians say they're more financially stressed and uncertain about their future. Is your superannuation program and strategy supporting or contributing to this stress? If we look into this a little bit deeper, we can see that 61% of financial well-being is behavior-driven. This means that your employees need education and information around the behaviors they're deploying in their life today that may be contributing to their stress or reducing it. Money is second only to loneliness as a cause of anxiety and depression, according to Beyond Blue. Financial well-being programs are materially important to helping people use their money in smarter ways. It's not enough just to pay people more. If you're not helping them do more with that money in a way that's meaningful and practical to their lifetime goals, then often this stress goes to build and build higher as their debt position grows in line with increased salary. That's one of those unfortunate consequences of not understanding the behavior that underpins some of the actions you're taking today. But financial well-being programs are often not measured very well. How effective are they? Have you defined your ROI and what you're trying to achieve through a financial well-being program? And is your provider able to demonstrate to you that a financial well-being program is actually effective in practice? Those are critical questions you need to ask before deploying those types of strategies. But if you do have a financial well-being program out, it is achieving the right types of outcomes, your employees are less stressed. They still may leave. And that's okay. Everyone's employment journey is different. But if they do leave, are they saying positive things in the market about you, or are they detractors to your organization? Employees who leave an employer take their superannuation with them. They take the experience of their superannuation fund with them. If you're with a corporate provider like Smart Monday by Aon, they'll even take your name with them for the remainder of their membership. Your name and their retirement outcomes are now married together. Thus, the conduct and action and performance of that fund can support your brand, as well as all the ancillary benefits they get as part of their membership. This is a powerful mechanism for creating goodwill in the market. And goodwill is a powerful thing, simply because of this fact. Over 86% of surveyed females and 67% of surveyed males indicated they would not join a company with a bad reputation. This means that enhancing your reputation market through your top talent journey is critically important to securing the longevity of your fund and your ability to attract people at the start of that employment journey. And your superannuation strategy can be a powerful mechanism to enable that for you and reduce this risk overall. If everything works together, this is what your top talent journey looks like. You have the right people that you've attracted through customization and discretionary effort. You've reduced their anxiety and stress through a comprehensive financial well-being program that can be delivered through a vehicle like a superannuation provider, which is already within your vendor network. And then finally, if the people do leave, you have them going to the market saying all the right things about your business and how much you have supported them in trying to achieve long-term outcomes for themselves and their family. But I promised you practical outcomes. So let's talk about some of the practical things you can do today, regardless of which provider you're with. Actionable steps. Firstly, let's talk about reducing risk. Super funds can offer customization far beyond what many employers utilize them for. This includes insurance design and different categories for different employees. By taking these steps of discussing and negotiating with your superannuation provider around the needs of your different employee cohorts, you can create a really customized program that's designed and fit for purpose for your employees. What do your peoples in different states need, geographies, or different occupations? You already probably know this and have this expertise within your business. It may already have been surveyed. Taking that information out and then having that conversation to define this type of program can mean that insurance designs and benefits provided to employees can activate at the right time in their life, and they're achieving the right outcomes for them, or as close to the right outcomes as possible. If you're looking for economic benefit, then reducing cost may be more favorable. Through negotiation with your superannuation funds and using the buying power of your business's brand, you may be able to negotiate what we call a collective occupational factor. What that means is some of your higher risk employees can have their insurance premiums reduced by pooling that risk with the group of employees together. This is a little bit more of a complex negotiation and may need expertise. Aon is perfectly positioned to provide this level of expertise to you and also do the negotiation on your behalf. And what this means is hopefully it contains cost for your employees despite the market of regulation change occurring today. In practice, Smart Monday has done a lot of things to help our clients. Smart Monday has a comprehensive financial wellbeing program that we've deployed both here in Australia and in APAC. This program is designed not only to support the client's wellbeing outcomes, but also within the days of the week, which means they're focused on different demographic groups and what each can do within their day of the week, depending on what they want for their weekend. Aon can provide external insurance benefits consulting. This means that we can talk to you about what type of insurance designs are most appropriate for your different employee cohorts and how you may be able to achieve them in a cost-effective way. If you're talking about remuneration and executive and board remuneration, this is something that we do a lot of work around, because remuneration and customizing remuneration programs to achieve long-term outcomes is critically important, and making sure those actual remuneration structures are appropriate and signaling the right behaviors within each employee group. Aon has developed microsites. We're in a digital world today, as we can see by this virtual Aon Insight series. That means that the use of digital assets in people's lives has become much more prevalent on a day-to-day basis. So deploying some of these assets into people's lives through your superannuation provider is a simple benefit that you can get for free today and leverage your relationship and ongoing contribution via the super guarantee. And if you just need to know whether or not you're getting the right outcomes, benchmarking may be a great idea. Checking that your provider is appropriately performing against their peers in the market and making sure they're staying accountable to the outcomes that you want from them for your people and your business. Whether it's in risk, reward, health, or retirement, doing this type of check is always a good step just to make sure that you're achieving what you need. But at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself one question. Do you know that you're getting any value from your default superannuation fund? And are they doing everything that they can to support your business, mitigate your risk, and achieve the right outcomes for your weekend? If you want to talk about this in detail, please contact Smart Monday by Aon at corporateinquiries@smartmondays.com.au. Thank you for your time today, and I hope you have a safe and wonderful day.